Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Branstead, and I serve as your worship associate this morning, and I am just delighted to be here. As I look out, I see a colorful group ready for Thanksgiving, and we are so happy to see the faces of old and new friends gathered here today. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson is not merely a tolerant community, but truly a welcoming congregation. We receive here gladly, regardless of your racial or ethnic background, your age, economic status, political affiliation, gender expression, or sexual orientation. Our diversity is truly what unites us and makes us wiser and stronger. If you would like more information about UUFC, I encourage you to check out our website or speak with the Welcome Table volunteers after the service. There are many spiritual paths in this world. You will find more than one within this congregation. You will not be judged for your beliefs. In fact, here your choices are respected and allowed to flourish. I hope that today's service will fill a place inside of you that feels hungry for something deeper. Please accept our invitation to return. Every Sunday is different. So, announcements. As you will see on a sign going into the social hall, bring your leftovers next Sunday for the Thanksgiving after feast. Now, we're not talking about just leftovers. Bring a half a pie. Bring some leftover green beans. So you don't need to prepare something all new. Bring your leftovers, no matter how small or how fresh or how new. That's this next Sunday. And the second note is, please turn in your pledge. That's what keeps us going this next year. So we're seeing that many, many people have turned in their pledge. You can do that on the offering plate as it comes around, or even in the clear glass bowl that's in the back. Let us rise and greet each other, and then we will sing number 1010 in the Blue Book. Don't tell me you have an announcement. Thank you. I usually am accused of booming a little too much. Oh, okay.
So this afternoon, you say?
Tonight. I'm going to, we'll talk later. Is that enough? Good morning, number 1010. One where you stand proud and sing loud. We give thanks for this precious day. The wheel of the year has turned again. Once more, the Thanksgiving season has arrived. How shall we sing our song of gratitude now? For what shall we give thanks? For this moment, for friends near and far, for our breath, for love, for courage and clarity, for strength, for delight, for laughter and beauty, for the tables around which we gather, for the food we enjoy with friends, seasoned with love and memory, for the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky, for the trees who have seen so much and still stand proud, stretching themselves to the sky, for the bright voices of children, for the wisdom of elders, for actions that bless the world, for hard work that makes a difference, for music and art and celebration, for generosity, for compassion, for endurance, for joy, for hope. For all these things, we give thanks as we worship together. Thanksgiving, and I should tell you that that is by Laura Horton Ludwig. And the title is, What Shall We Give Thanks? For me, Thanksgiving is the best holiday of the year, more important than Christmas and even more important than Easter, which used to be my favorite. But Thanksgiving really means we do give thanks. And I am so grateful for all of you. I'm so grateful for you collectively, for you individually, for your contributions to me, to the world. What we have done in our family is bring the family together from here and from there. We've kind of given up a little bit on Christmas because Christmas seems to be a time when people disperse. But in our family, we've made it a priority to come together. You don't have to bring gifts. Food is nice, but no gifts. We draw names in for the Christmas time. We haven't seen for a while, and for people that. So for me, it's a time of giving thanks, and I'm so glad that you are here to help do that. And so now we do the chalice lighting, yes? Or have I missed something? I still need my notes.
All right. You want to go ahead and sit? You can sit. You can sit.
That's it. So am I supposed to do a little bit more? No. Good.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that warm welcome and those lovely opening words. I'm Reverend Christina Branum-Martin, and I'm the interim minister here at the fellowship. It is so good to see faces and sparkling eyes and hear the welcoming that I see happening as people come in and visitors come to join us. This Thanksgiving holiday coming up is complicated. We all know it is complicated, not just from our own emotions and sometimes the complicated relationships we have with our families, who we maybe want to be with and maybe don't want to be with. That often happens. It's also a time when many people are in mourning and acknowledge the land in which we stand. We reside in the lands inhabited by the eastern band of the Cherokee, even to this day. And also the Muskogee and the Yuchi peoples have lived in this land in the past, and I want to honor them today on a time when we come together for gratitude. It's also a time for us to acknowledge the complicated nature of this time. I'm going to light the chalice with the honoring of that life is complicated. And may we always return to love and care and understanding and learning so that we find our way forward. Nick Wilburn wrote these words: "We gather here today to share and to give thanks, to tell our stories and to break bread and to be together. We light our chalice this morning in the spirit of giving thanks, with love and hope and generosity of spirit, grateful for this opportunity to be together." Would you turn to your order of service and look for the words of affirmation? We share these each week. May they touch a place in your heart and give you strength in the days that we are not together. We gather together in the spirit of love. This justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another. I have some things for a story up here. I've got a couple of seats here with tags that say "Seat Saved for Children." So if anyone would like to come up, please do. And if there are not extra seats, then maybe you could claim these over here or sit on the floor, whatever you would like. And I want to check the volume of this microphone. Is it loud enough? Okay, great. So do you want to have a seat right there? That would be great. Okay, so what holiday do you have off of school for?
We have all of them.
All of them, okay. Halloween, Easter, Valentine's Day, almost all that stuff, yeah?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yes, she said, I think you already know because you're my mom. This is my youngest. Hi. What are you thinking about?
We have a week off for Thanksgiving at Clemson Elementary, so.
Yeah,
Yay.
that's great. And
Why
what,
is there different kinds of bread?
I wonder. What are you
I see a
thinking?
croissant. I
Yeah.
see a croissant. Like mostly everyone except Veterans Day and Halloween, even though we stay up.
Yeah, this question went really deep today. I was thinking just about Thanksgiving. So I eat special things at Thanksgiving that I don't eat at other times of the year. I imagine there are some things like that too. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that food brings stories. Hey, you two, can you sit up so I can see your eyes? If you're going to lay down, why don't you go sit at the table in the back? Or sit right there. Oh, thank you so much. I love seeing your eyes. Thank you so much. So one of the things about Thanksgiving is that our food tells stories. It tells stories about where we come from and about sometimes even things handed down from generation to generation. What's your favorite food at Thanksgiving? Your favorite food is gobble, gobble, gobble?
/ turkey.
Turkey, okay. What's your favorite food?
My mom's 90% allergic to it, and I don't really eat it that much, so we pretty much, for Thanksgiving, we eat our favorite foods.
You eat your favorite foods. That's fantastic. Do you have a favorite thing at Thanksgiving? No. Okay. Do you have a favorite thing at Thanksgiving?
Pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie.
What's your favorite?
Pumpkin pie and turkey.
And turkey. Do you have a favorite?
Croissant.
Okay. Okay. So I want to share that foods tell a story, and so do breads.
Like croissants.
Bread in its basic form is wheat or semolina, rye, a grain, a seed and a grain. And we add water and salt and a little bit of sugar and sometimes yeast and sometimes oil, but the basics of bread can take all sorts of forms. And a friend of mine tells this story about bread, that breads come in all colors, all sizes and shapes, and they are all good. And children come in all colors, shapes, and sizes, and they are all good, and you all belong to the human family. And did you know that there is actually a bread that was made just for children? I want to finish my story, okay?
Which is the pretzel.
The pretzel was actually a bread historically made for children by monks as a reward for children who had good behavior and would say their prayers.
The pretzel.
So they would get a pretzel, a warm pretzel, and go off to bed. And bread comes in all different colors. Rye, some of you might know rye, or pumpernickel. Pumpernickel is eaten mostly on a daily basis in Eastern Europe and in Russia and in parts of the world. Later on, I'm thinking it might be fun to come and smell some of these things. They smell different. Who likes rye in here? Wow, a lot of people. Yeah. And bread has stories historically, too. Many breads come from family recipes, but Kaiser rolls that look like this. They have poppy seeds on this one. This one was named by a king. The Kaiser means king in German, and the king at the time supposedly was very big-headed, and he wanted a food named after him. So he named it the Kaiser roll, and they made it in the shape of a crown with that braid on the top. And this bread is called sweet Hawaiian bread. Some people call it king bread. But food sometimes tells the story of a history of things gone bad. For example, this king from Portugal came to Hawaii and took over the island and named the bread that they had been making for many, many, many generations and called it after himself. Sometimes bread has a serious, deep story. What's this?
Pita.
Oh, tortilla. Pita looks very similar, doesn't it?
It's just
Yeah.
basically just has a pocket in the middle.
Yeah, pitas have a pocket in the middle. Tortillas,
Fluffier.
when I was a child growing up in Houston, Texas, tortillas were common, but not as common as they are today. How many of you had tortillas at your table as a child? Very few. And yet, now, supposedly, it's one of the most commonly sold bread products in the country. So, bread tells a story. I know that you know what this is, because you have said it a number of times. Yes. I wonder where this came from.
It came from a croissant making place.
It is very famous in France. You're right. Do you know that this was first made in Austria? Vienna, yes. Austria. That Austria is a country in Europe that is pretty close to Germany.
It used to control Hungary too.
And used to control Hungary too. So one of the stories about the croissant is there was a war between the Turks and the Christians. And the bakers were not allowed to make the shapes that they were made before because they were related to Christian symbols. So the Turks who were in power at the time said, we would like for you to make all of these breads and these new symbols. And this is actually the symbol for the crescent of Islam. And I've got 2 breads left.
Oh, matzah.
Matzah. Some people know that matzah is also called unleavened bread. This story is really hard to hear. There was a time when the Jewish people who were living in a land were run off of where they were living so quickly they had to run for their lives. They didn't even have time to let their bread rise. Hold on. And then the bread was heated in the sun while they were traveling for 8 days so that they could have something to eat. Every year at Passover, this bread is eaten to be reminded of their ancestors who had to protect themselves and their religious traditions. And do you know what leavened bread looks like in the Jewish tradition? It looks like this beautiful challah bread. So pretty. Challah bread is braided 3 times with a certain prayer told with each braid so that it's prepared and made ready for the Friday Sabbath. The traditions of the Jewish people are to eat challah and to share a small piece of that with the rabbi. That might not happen anymore, especially in this country, but the tradition was that the rabbi needed to be fed also. So, just a minute, I'm not done with my story. And the rabbi would be fed by a little piece of bread by all the different families in the place where they lived. And that was a way to support the religious leaders. And also, the tradition was to share with those who were hungry. So when you have enough and you share, there's an opportunity for everybody to be taken care of. especially the children. Yes. So this story was told to me by my friend Cherry Steinwinder, who teaches a class called Opening the Breadbasket in elementary schools to help children learn about difference and respect each other's stories and bodies and colors and traditions and religions. And I think it's really important to remember that we all come differently. We all are good, and we all belong to the human family. This story has always touched my heart because at this time of the year at Thanksgiving, we are expressing gratitude. And for all the people around the table who are different than us, we can see each other and see ourselves in their eyes. And when I look at you today, I see that you are all different. And I love you all. And thank you so much for listening to my story. Yes?
I have 3 things to say.
Okay, I want for you to whisper them in your sister's ear and tell me at coffee hour. Okay, thank you. All right. So now we are going to, we could do the offering now, and the children can help us gather the canned goods. When they bring it up and we're done, would you acknowledge the benevolence in the CCC?
And I want to make note, as he is playing, that this food is going to the CCC, the Clemson Community Center. And this is a food distribution center organized, led by the churches in this Clemson community area. It serves more than just Clemson, but the Clemson community area. So I want to say thank you to all of you. There is a major shortage of food. We don't tend to think of that. But for Clemson Community Center, when they sent around their notice recently, they said they have expended most of their funds already. All the funds that they had and all the food that they had for a year ago has been pretty much expended. So now we really appreciate the food that you are gathering here from all of you to help them, not only for Thanksgiving, but simply to live. So let us sing our children to their worship.
What do I do first? We're going to do joys and concerns first.
Oh.
You can bring them up.
Okay.
All right.
I seem to be off today.
You can put the stones in.
Oh,
that would be great. Thank you so much. At this time, we share our joys and concerns of the community, and I see quite a few here. The first is from Susan Pierce. It is a joy. Her joy is that my 4-hour kayak tour of Lake Hartwell and my new inflatable kayak was last Monday with Carl Dieter. Wow, how exciting. And Elaine Fredendahl, this is Danny's last time to sing with us. They are moving on December 5th. We are happy, and I'm sad.
I'll be back.
All right.
Parents still live here. I have to see them every once in a while.
Well, we look forward to seeing all of you. Meg Williamson. My sister has failed to make progress after knee replacement, so she'll be confined to a wheelchair and will have to enter an advanced care assisted living center. Oh, my goodness. Karen York. I am deeply concerned about yet another incident of violence against LGBTQ Americans in Colorado last night. What are we going to do about this? Karen Hebel. My brother is recovering well from his surgery last week. I'm glad you were able to be there with him. Petra. A joy. Mandy Guyon texted this morning asking that I say hi to everyone on her behalf. She welcomes calls and texts and is doing fairly well with her transition to living at Kiwi Place. Thank you so much. And Petra has been spending lots and lots of time with Mandy, and I want to extend my gratitude from this community for all that you're doing. I would to offer a stone for all the visitors that we have that have been coming. We hope that you find a home here. And last, there are things sometimes that are just not ready to be shared. Sometimes a joy hasn't bubbled up yet to the point where you're ready to share, and sometimes a grief is too overwhelming. We know that we are here when you're ready. Thank you so much. And now we can sing The Children on the Way. Great. And right before Elizabeth does a reading, I want to add that Nancy Simmons' knee surgery was positively received, and that she is doing well. I forgot that one. I'll put a stone. Choir. And the choir is not yet? Yes, it is. You've got to do it. You've got to do it when you need to. Yeah.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I can be your mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be a street light showing you the way home. If you hold my hand when you need to let go.
If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seeds, plant a little happiness, let the roots run deep. If it's love that we give, then it's love that we reap. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seeds. Yeah. I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let's take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done.
The door is always open. your picture's on my wall. Everyone's a little broken, and everyone belongs. Yeah, everyone belongs. I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. And bring us back together when the day is done. When the day is done.
And it is a crowded table, isn't it? It's wonderful, and thank you for leading us to that. And for the reading this morning, it's titled, When You Have More Than Enough. And I think that that's a wonderful sound, isn't it, for all of us to think about. Once upon a time, there was a family. Maybe this family had not quite enough to eat, or maybe they had had just about enough, or perhaps they even had more than enough. You might not have been able to tell. They might not have been able to tell. Sometimes it's hard to tell if you've had enough or not. It's hard not to want more or different things than you have. In any case, this family came together one autumn day for a celebration, for a feast, a time of gratitude. They gathered, as we have done, around a table. There was food, there was drink, there were flowers to remind them of beauty. And then there was a call from outside their door. Hello, 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 we're hungry, we're thirsty, and we see you have a feast. May we come in? Well, at first the family didn't know how to answer. Who were these people at the gate? Was it safe to let them in? Did they have enough food to share with them? Was there room? But then they remembered. They remembered that most of them had come to this family, to this celebration, from someplace else. They remembered that even they, who were at that table now, had not always been kind to one another. There had been times when they had even hurt each other. There were still times when they made each other sad or angry or afraid. There is no way to make life completely safe. They remembered times when others had shared with them, even when others might not have had quite enough of their own. They remembered when each new member of the family had been born, or come to stay, or married into. They remembered that they had always found room to make them comfortable. And they remembered an old saying that when you have more than you need, it is better to build a longer table than to build a higher fence. We have enough, they said. We might have more than enough. We are many and strong, and we can hold a safe place here in our home for all who come. And so they went out of their door, and to the gate in the fence, they opened the gate. They invited the people who were there inside. And inside they pulled out another table and made space for these newcomers. They covered it with a cloth, and the newcomers set upon it a dish full of something fragrant and delicious, which was strange to this family. Everybody shared, and there was enough. I want us to notice that we only heard one part of that story. We heard the story of the people who were in the family, in the house, ready to feast. We didn't hear the story of the people at the gate, wanting to come in. We don't know who they were, or why they are there, or what they bring to the table. other than the strange and wonderful foods. So when you hear other stories this Thanksgiving season, I want you to think about those stories and whose stories they are and whose stories they aren't, and what those other stories might have been.
When I was a teenager in Houston, Texas, I met Cherry Steinwinder, the person who put together the curriculum about bread. She had the biggest heart of almost anyone that I had ever met at that time. She had an amazing smile, and her voice filled the room when she spoke, and her laughter, oh, I can still hear it now. She was a beautiful black woman from Louisiana, and she was married to a white man, Ziggy, who was born in Austria and had immigrated into the United States when he was a young man. And when they married in 1973, they experienced much discrimination because of their marriage. Cherry was a teacher in elementary school, and she wanted to help children learn to respect each other for their differences. Cherry wanted to find ways to help children learn about how racism was still a part of the community in which we all lived. Cherry and her husband, Ziggy, would meet with a group of friends at my aunt's house and have dinner and talk about these things, and I often would be there. And after many conversations, they decided to request a grant for Cherry to write curriculum as a teacher. And she got the grant. And what she decided to do was to devote the rest of her life to leading a nonprofit called the Center for the Healing of Racism. And she put together curriculum for different age groups, from preschool all the way up through college. And she leads an organizational group called Dialogue Racism still to this day. She is 84 and going strong. The curriculum opening the bread basket was part of what I shared today, because all bread tells a story. And for me, all of our recipes tell a story. I wrote in the newsletter column this week that I have a few precious handwritten recipes from my mother and a few from my grandmother. My mother put together this odd-shaped little book for me and my siblings, and the recipes are in her hand. I feel deeply connected to her when I cook from these recipes. One such recipe isn't fancy. It's strawberry nut bread, and it brings back good memories. And perhaps you have similar recipes and memories yourself, and holidays such as Thanksgiving and Christmas are the times in which we take the time to cook those recipes. And if you'd like, you can taste the strawberry bread in the coffee hour. I brought a plate to share. What do you cook at Thanksgiving that is special? And from whom did you get your recipes? I know I cook my grandmother's green beans. How about you? Anybody else?
Stuffing.
Stuffing. Who made that?
My mother.
Your mother.
My mom calls it dressing.
Your mom calls it dressing. Yeah. Anybody else? What do you cook?
Chocolate pie.
Chocolate pie. Wow, we never have chocolate pie in my house. That's so interesting. We're all so different.
Fried turkey.
Fried turkey. All right. Yeah, Marty.
Oyster and cornbread stuffing.
Oyster and cornbread stuffing. All right. Yes.
Cranberry orange relish.
Nice. What I'd like you to do is just take a moment and close your eyes. I invite you for a minute just to picture the kitchen with those family members cooking. Remember the smells. Picture the table. may we have thanks for all the people who have brought us here today, to this place where we can have gratitude for where we are at this moment together. Many of you know that I grew up Unitarian Universalist, and I did have the opportunity, though, to go to a Catholic all-girls high school. I did it by choice. It was a wonderful opportunity for me to learn in a safe, small environment when the school that I was zoned to was really big and really loud, and at that time was not really strong, a lot of violence happening, and it was a good respite for me. It was a hard fit theologically, though. And as a humanist and an atheist, I had to make it work. And there was a religion class every day, all 4 years. And that religion class was 2 hours. I spent the first few years explaining and kind of chafing against the Catholic traditions. And eventually, I found an understanding of religion for myself that was not Catholic, but one that I was finally able to find the words to describe what I believed. I believed in loving relationships. I believed in justice. I believed in personal responsibility, in democracy, and interdependence. Do these kind of sound familiar? I was truly finding my way to the UU values from the congregation of which I was being raised in. So I would go to Catholic school during the week, and I would take the bus on Sunday, and I would go and spend my mornings there, and I sang in the choir. It was like I needed to be there just to get all the Catholicism off of my shoulders. The core beliefs of what Unitarian Universalism, though, got me through. And honestly, I don't know if I'd be a UU minister at this time and to have been able to find my voice in that same way if I hadn't have gone to Catholic high school. So thank you, nuns. I appreciate it. At the Catholic school, I had to wrestle with religious language. And I had to decide about the language of whether or not I would argue against religious language or whether or not I could find my way through. And I found my way through religious language by understanding that all the concepts of religious language are like poetry. When I think of words like holy and spirituality and prayer, I had to wrestle my way through them. But I was able to claim them in a way that I could make them my own. And I hope that you hear from me in the time that I've been with you for over these years, that I use religious language openly. And many people would ask me, how could you do religious language and be an atheist? And I said, it's all poetry from the emotions from our hearts and the deepest place of us reaching for understanding of the larger things, which religious concepts help us wrestle with. Who else went to Catholic school by chance? Or okay. So can you recite the 5 types of prayer? Probably not. Types of prayer are a prayer of adoration. Intercessory. Yes. Prayer of petition. A prayer of praise, and a prayer of thanksgiving. The one that I felt most comfortable with was thanksgiving, of expressing gratitude. And I learned this at home around the table by saying grace. I think this is why I feel so connected to Thanksgiving. Even as problematic as the history and the story of this holiday is, I want to remain connected and reminded of being gracious, having gratitude in my life. When we share a meal and break bread together, we open our hearts to others, just like in the story that Elizabeth read. When we open our hearts to each other, we can be reminded of where we came from and from whom we came from. We can look around that table and we can see our family and our chosen family there, and we can remind ourselves that we can get through these days, even when things are hard. All are invited to the Leftovers event next Sunday. I imagine there will be half-eaten pies, because sometimes when you live alone, you want pumpkin pie, but you cannot eat the whole thing, or the chocolate pie. I can. You can, okay, good. Yeah, should not, there you go, yeah. I invite everyone to come to that event with your cherished recipes, your stories, and to open your hearts to each other and to know that this community is home. I will close this service with this prayer of thanksgiving. It is by Reverend Gary Kowalski. May it bring you peace in this week ahead. Each of us will be grateful this Thanksgiving in different ways. Gathered in our separate families, each with our distinct recipes, customs, and traditions. For some will have pies of mince, and others of pumpkin or apple or chocolate. Some will dine early. Some will sit down late to the meal, passing on the wisdom of the elders. As to the question of whether the stuffing should have raisins or currants, whether to add sage to the gravy. For such differences of opinion must make us truly appreciative, realizing that there is no right way to celebrate the gifts of life. So there is no wrong way to share in the gifts of friendship. But amidst our diversity, let us be united in our gratitude for a world in which there are many faiths, a nation in which there is a freedom of worship, a community in which people of many backgrounds can gather in mutual care and respect. Amen. And before we sing the last hymn, it's really easy to find because it's number 1 in the hymnal. I chose this hymn, which is titled, "May Nothing Evil Cross This Door," as a way to invite the blessing of place and to have gratitude for being together in a place that feels like home. May we stand and sing together. There we go. We did it. Well, I can't reach. May we go forth from this place thankful for the life that sustains and renews us, and be open to the grace that surrounds and surprises us. May we go forth from this place with openness and thanksgiving. Our service has ended, and now the real work of our faith begins. Go out into the world with a kind word and a thoughtful deed and a heart full of love. Go now in peace. Amen.